The stars had always called to humanity. For thousands of years, people looked up at the night sky and wondered what was out there. In the year 2347, they finally had their answer, and the answer was not friendly. Park stood at the window of her small office on the diplomatic station orbiting Mars. She was 43 years old, with kind eyes and a calm voice that had ended more arguments than most people could count. Earth's United Council had chosen her to be humanity's first ambassador to alien species. It was the greatest honor of her life. It was also the hardest job she had ever done. 3 months ago, humanity made first contact with the Galactic Confederation. 12 alien species, all working together, all traveling between stars for thousands of years before humans even discovered fire, had been so excited at first. She imagined sharing knowledge, building friendships, learning about cultures older than human civilization itself. But the Confederation did not want friendship. They wanted submission. The door to her office opened, and her assistant, a young man named Han, walked in with a tablet in his hands. His face was pale. "Ambassador, they've sent their final terms." Took the tablet and read the message. Her expression did not change, but inside, her heart sank like a stone in deep water. The most powerful species in the Confederation demanded that humanity surrender 3 of their colony worlds. They called it tribute. They said it was the price for entering Confederation space without permission. They gave humanity 60 days to agree or face consequences. "What kind of consequences?" asked quietly. Swallowed hard. "They didn't say exactly, but their fleet has 400 warships. We have 37. Set down the tablet and looked out the window again. Mars glowed red and beautiful in the distance. Beyond it, Earth was just a small blue dot, her home, everyone's home. "Send a message to the Council," she said. "I need to speak with them immediately." 2 days later, sat in a shuttle heading toward the Confederation's main station. It was enormous, bigger than any city on Earth, a ring of metal and light spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved around it like fish in an ocean. None of them looked human. The High Commander was waiting for her in a meeting room at the center of the station. His name was, and he was terrifying. He stood 8 feet tall, covered in dark green scales, with teeth like knives and eyes like burning coals. When he spoke, his voice was like thunder. "You have read our terms, human." Bowed her head politely. "I have, High Commander. I would like to discuss them." Made a sound that might have been laughter. "There is nothing to discuss. You will surrender your worlds or we will take them. This is not a negotiation. This is a kindness. We are giving you a chance to survive." Around the room, representatives from other Confederation species watched in silence. Some of them looked uncomfortable. Most of them looked bored. They had seen this before. Small species, weak species, always trying to talk their way out of the inevitable. Kept her voice calm. "The people of Earth do not wish for conflict. We came to the stars hopping to find friends, not enemies. We would like to propose a different arrangement, trade agreements, cultural exchange, shared research. We have much to offer." "You have nothing," said. "You are children. Your species has been in space for 30 years. We have been among the stars for 10,000. Your ships are slow. Your weapons are weak. You have no planetary defenses, no battle stations, no war fleets. You are soft." "We chose to be soft," said. "We believed that peace was the better path." Leaned forward, his massive head coming close enough that could smell his breath. It smelled like smoke and blood. "Then you chose wrong. You have 60 days, human. Use them wisely." Far away, orbiting a moon of Jupiter, the Earthship Horizon floated in the darkness. It was humanity's largest vessel, a carrier ship capable of holding 2,000 crew members and dozens of smaller craft. Its commander was Admiral, a man of 55 with gray hair and steady hands. Watched the recording of meeting with. His face showed no emotion, but his officers knew him well enough to see the anger in his eyes. "They think we're afraid," he said. Lieutenant, his tactical officer, stood beside him. She was young, only 28, but she was brilliant. She had memorized every combat simulation in Earth's database. She had also read files that most officers did not know existed. "Sir," she said carefully, "should we show them what we're really capable of?" Was quiet for a long moment, then he shook his head. "Not yet. Let Ambassador Park try diplomacy first. That's always our first choice." "And if diplomacy fails?" The Admiral turned away from the screen. "Then, we remind the galaxy why humanity locked away its weapons in the first place." On Earth, the United Council met in the Great Hall in Seoul. Leaders from every nation sat together, watching the same recording that Admiral had seen. When it ended, the room was silent. Defense Minister Minyu stood up. He was a small man with glasses and a quiet voice, but when he spoke, everyone listened. "For the past 30 years, we have followed a policy of peaceful expansion. We built colony ships instead of battleships. We trained doctors instead of soldiers. We developed technology for farming, for healing, for building. We did this because we believed it was right." He pressed a button, and holographic displays appeared in the air. They showed weapons, ships, and systems that no one in the room had ever seen before. "But we never forgot what we were capable of. These are the files from the Prometheus Protocol. Weapons we designed but never built. Ships we planned but never launched. Technology so dangerous that our own ethics committees banned it." The room stared at the displays. A bomb that could collapse a star. A virus that could eat metal. A ship that could pass through solid matter like a ghost. "We hoped we would never need these things," Minyu said. "We still hope, but if they want a war, they will get something else entirely." Ambassador returned to the Confederation 1 week later. She brought a new proposal: peace, trade, and mutual respect. She smiled, she bowed, she spoke softly. They laughed at her. "You have 30 days now," said. "Not 60, 30, surrender or die." Smile did not fade, but something in her eyes changed. "We offered you our friendship," she said. "We offered you our hand. I hope when this is over you remember that." She turned and walked away. Behind her was still laughing. He would not be laughing for long. The news spread across human space like fire through dry grass. Every colony, every station, every ship heard the same message. They had given humanity 30 days to surrender 3 worlds or face destruction. For a few hours there was panic. Then there was something else, something the galaxy had never seen before. Humanity got angry. On the colony world of Nu, Governor Lee stood on the balcony of her office and watched the sunset. The sky was purple and gold, painted by the light of a star that was not the sun. Below her, the city stretched out toward the horizon, home to 2 million people who had crossed the stars to build new lives. Her assistant, a nervous young woman named O, came running in with a tablet. "Governor, the evacuation orders are ready. We can start moving civilians to the underground shelters within the hour." Shook her head. "No evacuations, not yet." "But Governor, the expect us to run," turned around and saw something in her eyes that made her stop talking. "We're not going to run, we're going to stand, and we're going to make them regret ever threatening our home." In the asteroid mining stations of the outer belt, far from any sun, workers who had spent their lives drilling rock and processing ore gathered in meeting halls. These were tough people, hard people, men and women who worked in the cold darkness of space because they were not afraid of hard things. A foreman named Bay stood before a crowd of 300 miners. He was 50 years old, with hands like stone and a voice like gravel. "I've been a miner for 25 years, he said. "I've never held a weapon in my life. Never wanted to. But if those lizards think they can take our homes, they're going to learn something about humans." He held up a plasma cutter, the same tool they used to slice through asteroids. We built these to cut rock. Turns out, they cut through ship armor even better." The crowd cheered. Within a week, every mining station in the belt had formed a volunteer defense force. Aboard the Horizon, Admiral called a meeting of his captains. They gathered in the conference room, 12 men and women who commanded the best ships in Earth's small fleet. They sat in silence as stood before them. "I'm going to tell you something that most of you don't know," he said. "For the past 30 years, Earth has followed a policy of peace. We built a fleet designed to defend, not attack. We trained our crews to protect, not destroy. The galaxy sees us as weak because of this." He pressed a button, and the lights dimmed. A holographic display appeared in the center of the table, showing a symbol that none of them recognized. A circle of fire surrounding a single spark. This is the Prometheus Protocol. It was created 50 years ago when we first started exploring space. Our scientists looked at the future and asked a question: what if we meet something out there that wants to destroy us? They spent 10 years developing answers to that question. Then they locked those answers away, hoping we would never need them. Captain Shin leaned forward. She was 35, with short black hair and eyes that missed nothing. She commanded the Silent Dawn, a stealth destroyer that could slip through space without making a sound. "What kind of answers, Admiral?" Met her eyes. "The kind that end wars, the kind that break planets, the kind that make stars go dark." The room was very quiet. Lieutenant began pulling up files on the display. Ships appeared, weapons appeared, technologies that seemed more like nightmares than designs. "The Prometheus Protocol includes designs for weapons we never built," she explained. "Gravity bombs that can crush entire fleets, antimatter lances that can cut through any shield, phase drives that let ships pass through solid matter. We had the ability to become the most dangerous species in the galaxy. We chose not to." Captain, commander of the carrier Eternal Spring, spoke up. He was older than most of the captains, with a face that had seen too much and forgotten none of it. "Why are you telling us this now?" "Because they have given us no choice," said. "Ambassador Park has tried diplomacy. They laughed at her. She offered peace. They demanded submission. She gave them every chance to choose friendship, and they chose war instead." He looked around the table at each of his captains. "I don't want to use these weapons. None of us do. But if they attack our people, we will defend them. And we will make sure that no one ever makes this mistake again." Far away, Ambassador Park was making her own preparations. But she was not building weapons. She was building alliances. The Confederation had 12 species, but only the truly wanted war. The others followed because they feared the more than they cared about humanity, intended to change that. She traveled to the a species made of living crystal that communicated through patterns of light. Their representative, a being of blue and silver that sparkled like a diamond, met her in a garden of glass flowers. "You come alone," they said, its voice like wind chimes. "Your people are about to be destroyed and you come to talk." "I come to warn you," said, "and to ask for your neutrality." "Neutrality?" They seemed amused. "They have 400 ships, you have barely 40. There is nothing to be neutral about. You will be crushed." Smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "The see a species that chose peace. They think that means we are weak. They are wrong." "Explain." "Humans discovered how to split atoms hundreds of years ago. We used that knowledge to build weapons that could destroy cities in a single flash. Then we used it again, on our own people. We have been at war with ourselves for most of our history. We have invented 1,000 ways to kill each other." She stepped closer to her voice soft but steady. "When we came to the stars, we decided to leave those weapons behind. We chose to be gentle. We chose to be kind. But we never forgot what we are capable of. They are about to learn what happens when humanity stops being gentle." It was silent for a long time. Its crystals flickered with colors could not name. "You are warning us to stay out of the way." I am asking you to keep your people safe. When the war begins, it will be short, and it will be terrible." She visited the next, a species of aquatic beings who lived in vast ocean worlds. Then who were made of living metal. Then 3 more species, each time delivering the same message. Some believed her, some did not, but all of them remembered her words. Back on the horizon, Admiral stood alone on the observation deck. Stars filled the window, millions of points of light scattered across the black. Found him there, staring into the darkness. "Sir, the protocol is ready. All ships have received their upgrades. The weapons are installed. We're as prepared as we're ever going to be." Nodded slowly. "When I was a boy, my grandfather told me stories about the old wars on Earth, the bombs that fell on cities, the fire that ate everything. He said that humans are the only species stupid enough to invent weapons that could destroy their own world." "Maybe that's true, sir." "Maybe," he turned to face her, "but it also means we're the only species that survived using them. We burned ourselves, we burned and we bled and we nearly destroyed everything we had. And then we rebuilt. We learned. We became better." He looked back at the stars. "They have never faced anything like us. They've conquered species that surrendered, species that fought and lost, species that ran away. They've never met a species that could have destroyed them 100 times over and chose not to. What if they don't understand?" "Then we'll teach them," said quietly, "and they'll never forget the lesson." Somewhere in the darkness, the fleet was gathering. 400 warships, the largest armada the Confederation had ever assembled. They expected easy victory. They expected quick surrender. They had no idea what was coming. On the 31st day, the came. Their fleet jumped into the new system like a swarm of angry wasps. 400 warships, each one bristling with weapons, each one crewed by warriors who had never known defeat. High Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Fang of Conquest, and looked at the planet below. 2 million humans lived there. Soon he thought they would kneel, or they would die. "Scan for enemy vessels," he ordered. His sensors officer, a young named, worked his console. Then he looked up, confused. "Sir, I'm not detecting anything." "Nothing." "Nothing. No ships, no stations, no weapons platforms. The system is empty." Made a sound of disgust. They ran, cowards, all that talk about standing firm, and they ran like prey animals. But something felt wrong. Had conquered many worlds, and he knew the feeling of a trap. The silence was too perfect. The darkness was too deep. "Launch scout ships," he ordered. "Spread through the system, find them." 50 small vessels broke away from the main fleet and flew in all directions. Their sensors swept the darkness, looking for any sign of human presence. They found nothing. Minutes passed. The fleet moved closer to Nu, ready to begin their attack. Was about to give the order when spoke again. "Sir, I'm picking up something strange. One of our scout ships just vanished from sensors." "Vanished?" "Yes, sir. One moment it was there, the next moment it was gone. No explosion, no debris, just gone." Before could respond, another scout vanished, then another, then 5 more. "What is happening?" he roared. Nobody could answer him. The scout ships continued to disappear, one by one, swallowed by the darkness without a sound. And then the silent dawn struck. Captain Shin had been waiting for 3 hours. Her ship floated in the shadows of an asteroid, completely invisible to sensors. The phase drive that powered her vessel was one of the Prometheus protocol's most terrifying creations. It could shift the ship out of normal space, making it undetectable by any known technology. It could also let the ship pass through solid matter, appearing exactly where it wanted to be. Exactly where no one expected. "All weapons ready," her tactical officer reported. Watched the fleet on her display, 400 ships arranged in a perfect formation, confident, arrogant, blind. "Take us in," she said. The silent dawn materialized in the center of the formation. For one heartbeat, nothing happened. The sensors couldn't process what they were seeing. A ship had appeared from nowhere, right in the middle of their fleet. Then opened fire. The Silent Dawn's weapons were not normal cannons. They were antimatter lances, beams of pure destruction that cut through shields like knives through paper. In 12 seconds, 3 cruisers became expanding clouds of fire and debris. Before anyone could react, the Silent Dawn vanished again, slipping back into the shadows. Chaos erupted on the Fang of Conquest. Officers shouted, alarms screamed, weapons fired into empty space. "Where did it go?" bellowed. "Find it." But there was nothing to find. The Silent Dawn was already gone, moving to a new position, preparing to strike again. Then Admiral's voice filled every communication channel in the system. "This is Admiral of the Earth Defense Fleet. You are in violation of sovereign human territory. You have one opportunity to withdraw." Slammed his fist on his command console. "You destroy 3 ships and think you've won. We have 400. Show yourself human." "You had 400's voice replied calmly. "Look again." Checked his sensors. His scales went pale. "Sir, we're detecting multiple contacts, dozens of them. They're appearing all around us." The human fleet had been there all along, hidden in the darkness, waiting. Now they revealed themselves. The horizon, the eternal spring, and 35 other vessels surrounded the armada like wolves circling prey. They were still outnumbered 10-1, but they didn't know what they were facing. Captain stood on the bridge of the eternal spring and watched the enemy fleet on his screens. His carrier had been designed to launch fighters, small attack craft that could swarm enemy ships, but the Prometheus protocol had given him something better. "Launch the swarm," he ordered. The Eternal Spring's launch bays opened, and thousands of drones poured into space. They were small, barely larger than a man, but each one carried a weapon that humanity had hoped never to use. A micro-singularity generator, a tiny device that could create a black hole for a fraction of a second, long enough to tear a warship in half. The drones moved faster than any living pilot could fly. They dodged weapons fire, slipped through shields, and attached themselves to hulls. Then they activated. Watched in horror as his ships began to die. One moment, a battleship would be firing its weapons. The next moment, it would collapse inward, crushed by forces that shouldn't exist, folded into a point of absolute darkness before exploding outward in a storm of twisted metal. "Retreat," he finally ordered. "All ships retreat." But it was too late for retreat. The Silent Dawn appeared again, striking from the shadows. The horizon's weapons tore through cruisers like paper. The swarm drones continued their terrible work, destroying ship after ship. The battle lasted 47 minutes. When it ended, the armada was gone. Not defeated, not scattered. Gone. 389 ships destroyed. Only 11 vessels managed to escape, limping away into the darkness with their lights flickering and their engines dying. Humanity lost 11 ships, 11. Was not among the survivors. The Fang of Conquest had been one of the first ships to fall, crushed by a micro-singularity that pulled it into a ball of screaming metal before anyone could escape. On News Surface, Governor Lee stood in her office and watched the sky. Debris from the battle was falling through the atmosphere, burning like shooting stars. Each streak of light was a warship, turned to fire and ash. Her assistant stood beside her, tears running down her face, but she was smiling. "We won," she whispered. "We actually won." "Yes," said quietly. "But look at the sky. Each one of those lights was a ship full of people. Enemies, yes, but people. This is what war looks like. This is why we tried so hard to avoid it." On the horizon, Admiral sat in his command chair and stared at the debris field that had once been an armada. His officers were cheering, celebrating their victory. He did not celebrate with them. Lieutenant approached him carefully. "Sir, it's over, we won." I know. He turned to look at her and she saw something in his eyes that made her stop. Pain, grief, and something else she couldn't name. For 30 years, we kept these weapons locked away. We believed that if we were peaceful enough, kind enough, patient enough, we would never need them. We were wrong. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Tell Ambassador Park to contact the Confederation. Tell them what happened here. Tell them we don't want more bloodshed. Tell them we still want peace. And if they don't believe us, was quiet for a long moment, then we'll have to make them believe, one way or another. The debris continued to fall on new, painting the sky with fire. Somewhere in the darkness, 11 ships fled toward home, carrying news that would change the galaxy forever. The gentle humans had shown their teeth, and they were sharper than anyone had ever imagined. The news of the Battle of Nu spread across the galaxy like a shockwave. In the great halls of the Confederation, ambassadors and commanders gathered around displays, watching recordings of the battle again and again. They could not believe what they were seeing. 400 warships, the mightiest fleet the Confederation had ever assembled, destroyed in less than an hour by a force 1/10 its size. The Empire demanded an emergency session of the Confederation Council. Their new military leader, a commander named who had replaced the late, stood before the assembled representatives with fury burning in his eyes. "This cannot stand," he declared. "The humans have committed an act of war against the entire Confederation. They have used weapons of unimaginable power. They must be destroyed before they destroy us all." The chamber was silent. No one moved, no one spoke. Then the representative rose. Its crystalline body sparkled with colors of blue and gold as it turned to face. "We warned you." Scales darkened with anger. "What did you say?" "We warned you," they repeated. "The human ambassador came to our world before the battle. She told us what would happen. She asked us to keep our people safe. She said the war would be short and terrible. She was right." "You knew," stepped toward his claws scraping against the floor. "You knew what they were capable of and you said nothing." We did not believe her, not completely, but she made us curious, so we stayed out of the fight. The lights flickered in what might have been amusement. It seems that was wise. The ambassador, speaking through a translation device from their water-filled chamber, added their voice. "We were also warned. The human ambassador came to us as well. She was polite. She was kind. She asked for nothing except our neutrality, and she told us something we will never forget." "What did she tell you?" "She said that humans chose to be gentle. She said that gentleness was a gift, not a weakness. She said that they were about to learn the difference." Looked around the chamber, seeing fear in the eyes of species that had never feared him before. "You are cowards, all of you. The humans are monsters. They must be stopped." "Monsters," the voice came from the entrance of the chamber. Everyone turned to look. Ambassador Park walked into the council room. She was not alone. Admiral walked beside her, wearing his formal uniform. Behind them came Captain Shin, captain, and a delegation of human soldiers. They moved with quiet confidence, their footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. Stopped in the center of the chamber. She looked small among the alien representatives, a simple human woman surrounded by beings twice her size. But she did not seem small. She seemed like the most dangerous person in the room. "High Commander," she said, her voice calm and gentle. "Thank you for calling this meeting. I believe we have much to discuss." His eyes burned with hatred. "You killed our warriors. You destroyed our fleet. You used weapons that should not exist." "You attacked a civilian colony," replied. "You gave us no choice but to defend our people. We did not start this war. We tried very hard to prevent it. You hid your true power. You pretended to be weak." "We did not pretend. Took a step forward and actually stepped back. We chose to be peaceful. There is a difference." She turned to address the entire chamber, her voice rising so that everyone could hear. Humanity developed weapons that could destroy planets. We chose not to build them. We discovered how to make stars explode. We sealed that knowledge away. We found ways to unmake matter itself, to break the rules of space and time, to create forces that could end civilizations in moments. And we buried those secrets so deep that most humans do not even know they exist. She paused, letting her words sink in. We were kind because kindness was our first choice. We were peaceful because we believed peace was the best path. But you mistook our gentleness for weakness. You mistook our patience for fear. You thought that because we did not show our weapons, we did not have them. Admiral stepped forward. His face was hard, but his voice was sad. Your armada attacked 2 million innocent people. Men, women, children. Families who had crossed the stars to build new lives. They had done nothing wrong. They wanted nothing except to live in peace. And you came to destroy them. He looked directly at. We defended our people, that is all we did. We take no joy in what happened. We mourn every death and human alike. War is a tragedy, not a victory. Snarled, pretty words from a murderer. I have killed, admitted. I have given orders that ended lives. I will carry that weight forever, but I did it to protect the innocent, not to conquer the helpless. Can you say the same? The chamber was silent. Then the spoke again. We would like to discuss trade agreements with Earth. Spun around, what? Trade agreements, the repeated. The humans have shown themselves to be honorable. They warned us before the battle. They offered peace before they offered war. They have technology that could benefit our people. We see no reason to be their enemy. One by one, other species voiced similar interest. The small, quiet species that had always followed the out of fear rather than loyalty. They had watched the battle. They had seen what humanity could do, and they had noticed something else. The humans had won, but they were not celebrating. They were not demanding tribute. They were not threatening destruction. They were standing in the council chamber, asking for peace. Only the stood alone. Looked around the chamber, seeing his empire crumble. This is not over, he said. The do not forget, the do not forgive. He turned and stormed out of the chamber, his guards following behind him. Watched him go. Then she turned back to the other representatives and smiled. It was a real smile this time, warm and genuine. I understand that trust must be earned, she said. We have much to prove, and we are willing to take the time to prove it. But I want you to know something about humanity. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each alien species. We could have built an empire. We could have conquered half the galaxy before anyone knew what was happening. We had the weapons, the technology, the knowledge, but we chose a different path. We chose to explore, not invade. We chose to trade, not steal. We chose to learn, not destroy. She held out her hands, palms up. Our hands can hold weapons. They can also hold gifts. Today, we offer you friendship. We offer you partnership. We offer you the same chance we offered before they refused to listen. Captain stepped forward, her voice quiet but clear. We don't want enemies. We never did, but we will never let anyone hurt our people without answering for it. Captain nodded. The weapons we used against thee are back in storage. We hope to never use them again. But they exist, and they will always exist, and anyone who threatens humanity will face them. The representative moved closer to its crystals shimmering. You are a strange species, Ambassador Park. You are gentle and terrible, peaceful and deadly. You are nothing like what we expected. Laughed softly. We surprise ourselves sometimes, but we try to be good. We try to be kind. We just want the chance to prove it. The council voted that day to begin formal negotiations with Earth. Not everyone was happy about it. Not everyone trusted humanity, but the first step had been taken. Outside the chamber, Admiral stood by a window, looking out at the stars. Do you think they'll ever forgive us? He asked. Stood beside him, for winning the battle, for showing them what we really are, for making them afraid. She thought about it for a moment. Maybe not. Maybe they'll always look at us and remember what happened at Nu. But fear isn't the worst foundation for peace. It kept humans from destroying ourselves for centuries. Maybe it can keep the galaxy safe too. I hope you're right. So do I, Admiral. So do I. 5 years had passed since the Battle of Nu. The galaxy had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. The Empire, once the most feared power in known space, had fallen apart. Without their military strength to hold it together, the cracks that had always existed began to spread. Colonies that had been conquered centuries ago rose up in rebellion. Generals who had served under turned against each other, fighting for control of what remained. Within 2 years, the mighty empire was nothing but scattered pieces, broken and bleeding. Humanity could have crushed them. Everyone expected it. They had attacked first. They had threatened innocent lives. They had refused every offer of peace. By the laws of war, humanity had every right to finish what they had started. But that was not what humanity did. Instead, Earth sent aid ships, not warships, aid ships. They carried food for hungry civilians. They carried medicine for sick children. They carried doctors and teachers and engineers who wanted to help, not hurt. At first, they were suspicious. They expected tricks, traps, some hidden cruelty behind the kindness. But the humans kept coming. They built hospitals. They repaired infrastructure. They treated wounded from the civil wars without asking which side they had fought for. Captain Shin, the woman who had commanded the Silent Dawn during the battle, now commanded the Horizon. But it was not a warship anymore. It had been converted into a mobile medical station, the largest humanitarian vessel in human space. She traveled from planet to planet, delivering supplies and personnel wherever they were needed. She stood on the bridge one morning, looking down at a world that had been devastated by fighting. Cities lay in ruins. Smoke rose from fires that had been burning for weeks. Refugees filled camps that stretched to the horizon. "Launch all medical teams," she ordered. "Priority to the children's ward. I've heard there's some kind of illness spreading through the camps." Her first officer, a young man named, looked at her with something like wonder. 5 years ago, we were killing these people. Now we're saving their children." 5 years ago, they were trying to kill ours, replied. Things change, people change, that's the whole point. Captain had taken a different path. After the war, he returned to Earth and became an instructor at the military academy. He taught young officers the philosophy of measured response, the importance of restraint, the weight of every life lost in combat. "You will learn how to fight," he told each new class. "You will learn strategy and tactics and weapons, but more importantly, you will learn when not to fight. You will learn that victory means nothing if it destroys what you were trying to protect." His students went on to become the finest officers in human space. They carried his lessons with them, passing them on to the next generation. Governor Lee was elected to Earth's United Council. She served for 3 terms, always pushing for more aid to former enemy worlds, always arguing that peace was built one act of kindness at a time. Her first act as a council member was establishing the new memorial. It was not a celebration of victory. It was a reminder of what war cost everyone. The names of every human who died in the battle were carved into a wall of white stone, and next to them, in the same sized letters, were the names of every who died. They were soldiers following orders, said at the dedication ceremony. They had families who loved them. They had dreams and hopes and fears just like us. We did not want to kill them. We will not pretend that their deaths were anything other than a tragedy. Admiral retired too, a beautiful old city on the Korean peninsula. He bought a small house with a garden, and he spent his days growing vegetables and playing with his. One afternoon, his grandson came running up to him with a toy spaceship in his hands. The boy was 6 years old, with bright eyes and a smile that reminded of his own son at that age. "Grandfather, were you really in a war?" Lifted the boy onto his knee. I was, a long time ago. Did you win? The old admiral was quiet for a moment, thinking of friends he had lost, enemies he had killed, decisions that still haunted his dreams. Everyone lost something, he said finally, but we made sure that someday everyone could win. The boy didn't understand, hadn't expected him to, but someday, when he was older, he would learn about the Battle of Nu. He would learn about the terrible weapons his grandfather had used, and he would also learn about the hospitals and schools and farms that humanity built afterward. He would understand that winning a war was easy, winning the peace was hard. Ambassador Park never retired. She continued her work until the very end, traveling from world to world, building bridges between species that had feared each other for thousands of years. On the 5th anniversary of the battle, she stood before the new Galactic Assembly. It was a different organization than the old Confederation. Humanity was a founding member now, not an outsider. Representatives from dozens of species filled the chamber, including many who had chosen peace over revenge. Looked out at the assembled faces, some familiar, some new. We came to the stars hopping to find friends, she said. We found fear instead, your fear of us and eventually our fear of what we might become. The weapons we built could have destroyed civilizations. The power we held could have made us tyrants. For a moment, during the darkest days of the war, we wondered if that was our true nature. She paused, letting the silence fill the chamber. But we learned something important about ourselves. The same hands that can hold weapons can also plant gardens. The same minds that can plan battles can also plan hospitals. The same species that burned its own world learned to heal it again. We are capable of terrible things. We are also capable of beautiful things, and we get to choose which path we walk. She smiled, and it was the same gentle smile she had worn when she first came to the Confederation, before the war, before the death, before everything changed. We are still gentle, that has not changed, but now you understand that our gentleness is not weakness, it is a choice. It is a gift we offer freely to anyone willing to accept it. We hope this time you will take it. The Assembly voted unanimously to ratify the Treaty of Earth. It was the first time in galactic history that so many species had agreed on anything. After the ceremony, walked through the corridors of the Assembly Station, surrounded by delegates who wanted to shake her hand or take pictures with her. She smiled and bowed and thanked each one, patient as always. Finally, she found a quiet observation deck and stood alone, looking out at the stars. Lieutenant found her there. Was older now, with gray in her hair and lines around her eyes. She had been promoted several times since the battle, but she still remembered the young woman she had been, reading the Prometheus Protocol files for the first time. Ambassador, the representative wants to discuss cultural exchange programs. Nodded in a moment. Came to stand beside her, looking out at the same stars. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we'd lost? Every day, admitted. But we didn't lose, and now we have a chance to build something better than anything that came before. Do you think it will last? Thought about all the species she had met, all the cultures she had tried to understand, all the bridges she had tried to build. She thought about the broken and scattered but slowly rebuilding. She thought about thee and all the others who had chosen to trust humanity. I don't know, she said honestly. Peace is fragile. It requires constant work, constant care, constant attention. The moment we stop trying, it can all fall apart. She turned to look at. But that's what makes it valuable, isn't it? Easy things aren't worth fighting for. The hard things, the things that require sacrifice and patience and love, those are the things that matter. She turned back to the window, watching a ship pass by on its way to distant worlds. We tried to be gentle. The galaxy mistook it for surrender, but we showed them the truth. Gentleness isn't weakness. It's strength that chooses not to harm. It's power that chooses to protect instead of destroy. She smiled one last time. And now that they understand, we can finally begin. Far away, in a garden inn, Admiral watched his grandson play with his toy spaceship, flying it through the air and making explosion sounds with his mouth. Bang, boom, the bad guys are destroyed. Caught the boy's hand gently. You know there's another way to play. What way? Instead of destroying the bad guys, you can help them become good guys. You can build things together instead of blowing things up. The boy thought about this for a moment, but that's not as fun. Laughed, maybe not, but it's a lot more important. He looked up at the sky, where the stars were just beginning to appear in the fading light. Someday you'll understand. And someday the boy did.